First of all, a very warm welcome to today's webinar on behalf of ISPO. This webinar is specifically designed for startup founders looking for accelerating their business. My name is Christoph. I'm the head of ISPO's startup program, ISPO Brandnew. So what's today's agenda? We will feature, first of all, and that's obviously always the most important, a very successful startup founder, Ophir, who's with us today. A very warm welcome, Ophir. Looking forward to your presentation. Ophir will share some secrets and top advices that will help you guys to accelerate your business. We will also have an AI expert, Markus, who will share some tips on how to accelerate your business by using the right AI tools. And then we have Jan Köster, who's working for decades in the startup business and has a lot of experience to share, especially on how to increase your sales and how to prepare your startup and your team for pitches. We will have a Q&A session at the end. So whenever you have a question, just let us know. Did you know that 9 of 10 startups fail, 30% already in the first year, and only 1% actually reaches the 10 million euro revenue mark? So that's impressive numbers, but that's the most important thing. We are here to support startups on their way to be successful, to let you be one of the 10 startups that do not fail. And that's also the reason why ISPO, as part of our mission to accelerate the global evolution of sports, created ISPO Brandnew to support startups on their way to be successful. So what is ISPO Brandnew actually, and why should you join our program and become one of the successful startups like the one Ophir founded, Movementa? ISPO Brandnew has its final at ISPO Munich, where we have more than 60,000 visitors, more than 500 investors. We're setting up speed dating meetings. So in average, more than 20 speed dating meetings each startup has. We give you access to our global ISPO network, and we have quite a significant media reach, more than 7 million views on ispo.com, and more than 3 billion media outreach during our whole event. And if you also decide to join ISPO Brandnew, maybe you will be one of those startups having a successful journey like some of those startups that already went through ISPO Brandnew, like for example, POC, Maloya, Crocs, or already 20 years ago, a brand like GoPro, I assume everybody knows. So these are just a few startups that successfully went through our startup program and now are doing very successful business. So, and how this can look like and how such a journey is designed is something Ophir from Movementa can share with you. Over to you, Ophir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today. Can you hear me well? Yes. Okay. So a few words about myself. So what you can see here on that picture is a snapshot of ISPO last year. And that was a very important milestone in the journey of Movementa. But going back about myself, I'm coming from a very humble background. I was supposed to be a farmer, and I started my early life with no education. But from the beginning, I was an entrepreneur and I was always in the position to think out of the box and to lead things, to ask a lot of questions. And I think the main thing that I can define myself as a young kid was that I was always willing to fail. So I was never good in what I was doing. I was never the top guy, but I was willing to fail. And by failing, I learned again and again. And by falling and standing, I just kept learning and pushed myself forward to break the limits in a way. So I had, during establishing my businesses, I realized I need to have education. So I went to study business administration. Following that, I went to study accountancy, and later in the stage, I was become executive MBA. And that was part of my accelerator of life. So I can define myself in the life of myself that I'm always in accelerator, and I keep being accelerator. I can always improve myself, etc. So everything, so being an entrepreneur, it doesn't really matter what is your background, what you did in your life until now. It's only a matter of how much you want it and how you can leverage what you've got in order to go to the next step. Next slide, please. So in a snapshot about what we are doing, we'll give shortly the story behind that. But we can to solve the problem, how can we know when running or athletic footwear is expired? And that idea is actually the base for a holistic platform that we think. So the product that we developed, it's 1.5 grams hardware sensor that it's implemented inside running or athletic footwear shoes. And that kind of sensor is supposed to give the measurement of shoes when are in the position that based on the consumer profile and consumption, it's the right point to replace it. That technology has no battery. It weighs 1.5 grams. It's resistant to shocks. And when I'm saying shocks, it's about millions of hits on that sensor. And eventually it's affordable for the mass market. So our aim is to bring that product to the market. And based on that, we are building a platform that is giving a lot of data to the consumers, footwear brands, environment, when we talk about sustainability, and much, much more. But can you hear me better now?
Yes. So coming back to my journey with London Business School. So during the pandemic, I started my executive MBA, and I came to London after exiting one of my companies, and I sold it to a global British conglomerate, and I was in the UK in London. And since I had time during the pandemic, I went to executive MBA studies in London Business School. And during those studies, and ideas that related to the footwear industry, to the sport industry, came to me again and again and again. So in my background, I'm a runner. I did marathons, Ironmans, and it was very surprised to me that nobody is picking up this kind of problem. And eventually, what is so important when you opening your own business or establishing your business is to think very, very clearly and very, very thoroughly regarding the problem that you are coming to solve. Because I've seen many, many times that businesses are focusing on the wrong problem. And therefore, even if the solution is nice, once the problem is not a real problem, the business is not going to survive. So during my studies, during my electives, I tried to crystallize what is exactly the problem they're trying to solve. And that brought me to the next step of establishing Movementa. And this picture, what you can see is the incubator program of London Business School. So when I graduated from the school, I applied for the incubator program after establishing Movementa, and we've been accepted. So we spent a year in the offices in the campus. And during that year, I met a great guy, and his name is Joe Foster, and I will talk about it on the next slide. Okay, so I will start with Joe Foster because the first guy that I shared my problem with was this guy, Joe Foster. Joe Foster is the founder of Reebok, and in case you would like to read about the history of this guy, you can go to the next slide. If you would like to hear about this history of this guy, there is a book that he wrote that his name is Shoemaker, and he's telling all the entrepreneur process of the founding and exiting Reebok. And it's a fascinating story. And I sat with this guy on the cafeteria and I just told him, listen, I have a crazy idea. I would like to bring intelligence inside shoes. What do you think about this idea? And he sits there and he said, listen, if you'll be able to do that, it's just incredible. It's just amazing. And we established Movementa. And about 6 months after the establishment of Movementa, I came back to Joe and I said, listen, Joe, well, this is where we're standing. We develop a product. This is a product. Would you like to become a shareholder? And, you know, we started discussions and eventually Joe became a shareholder of Movementa. And he's a very valuable asset for us because he's very well linked in the market and he has a very good reputation in the market. So it was a very good starting point for us. And then when I established the team, the most important thing from my experience, and I had a lot of failures, is the point of finding the right people to join your team. I think the most important tip that I can give today on this call is to say, whatever you're doing, pick very, very carefully the people that are going to be around you, specifically the founders and your partners, because you might be in position that you are choosing the best business in the world. You have a very good problem, you have a very good solution and a very good value proposition. However, if the team is not the right team, if it's not the right fit for what you are sensing as a founder of a business, don't go in that direction. Don't use those people, even though if they have the best skills in the world, it just fit what you need. Because in one point or another, it's going to collapse and it's going to break the business. So this is my biggest tip to all of you. And I found great guys that joined to my team. They are both engineers. One of them was in my cohort and the other one joined. One of them is in engineering the autonomous car industry and another one is from the robotic industry. And it fits very, very well. And the point is about that we know today that even if tomorrow the Movementa is going to be exit in one way or another, or we're going to move to the next venture, we know already that we're going to work together. And this is from my side is a very important win because there is a future moving forward. And people, it's everything always. If it's employees, if it's shareholders, if it's partners, if it's vendors, it doesn't really matter. Eventually, we're working with people, and this is the key for what I'm talking about here. Now, regarding Misha Zverev, Misha was one of the judges during the ISPO competition last year. And after the competition, he came to me and said, listen, Ophir, I really, really like what you're doing. Let's talk about after the show. And we had 6 months of discussions, and eventually Misha became a shareholder in Movementa, and he's a very valuable as well for us because he is very, very well connected in the footwear industry. Next slide, please. So just to give you a few words about my day-to-day, and whoever is an entrepreneur and has his own business, I'm sure that he knows that, but whoever is thinking about that direction, it's good to know about how it's going to look like. Because coming from a corporate life to become a founder, it's a totally different environment. And I think the biggest thing is that when you wake up in the morning, nobody is telling you what you're going to do today. It's all up to you. And the thing is, when you are founding a business, you do not have technology, you do not have clients, you do not have vendors, you do not have partners, you don't have money, and you don't have the knowledge maybe on how to achieve what you dream to achieve. So the thing is being a founder of a business in every stage is, first of all, to prioritize what you need to do, to understand what are the problems that you're coming to solve, and to be focused. I think focus is the most important thing. And I've seen many, many managers that are trying to fill their schedule with plenty of calls and meetings to show and to see that they are very, very busy. My observation from where I'm standing today is totally different. I would prefer to be in position that I'm focusing only on the things that are super important and to free my time to think. Because when you are a founder, in many, many ways, it's a lonely journey. Next slide, please. So when you're establishing a business and it's starting in a baby steps, you can see the blue sky, you can see the vision, you know when you would like to go to, but there are many bumps and problems in this way. And everything, many in the starting point, can kill the business. And what is very important when you're going through that journey is to be aware that it's going to be super tough, it's going to be very lonely, and you need to be resilient to losses. And losses can come from many directions. So just to give you the sense, I'm in the stage that we are fundraising. I pitched to more than 100 potential investors today in this round. I'm not talking about the other round. And every time when you're starting a process with a potential investor and you're having this first call and the second call, etc., and then eventually saying, you know what, you are too early to our stage, it's not our focus, and many other reasons, it's always like a punch in your stomach. So wins, it's a great thing, and it's really ups and downs, but to be prepared for the worst and to wish for the best. Next slide, please. So we are now today in the stage that we have a product, we have multi-billion brands that are working with us. We are going to launch our product in the market with a limited edition in next year and be fully commercial in 2026. So on the front of footwear brands, we are doing well. It's a tough process, but the footwear brand, as a footwear industry, is an industry that's moving very slowly, and you're working with corporates, but it's still going very well. And we are at the stage that we are doing the fundraise for that purpose, mainly for engineering purposes. And the product is working well. We have a lot of work, and again, to develop it and to improve it and to reach to the level that it's going to be commercial. But overall, I can say that we are moving in the right direction. But again, every day it's a new battle, every day with its new problems. And the thing is, we need to be problem solvers as we're moving forward. And the problems are going to stay until the end. So, and I would assume that everybody knows that. Next slide, please. So this is in a nutshell about us, about Movementa, about myself. I will be happy to answer on any question if there are any. And if you are in the beginning of your journey, if you have any thoughts, if you would like to brainstorm, I would be happy to help you if possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ophir. That has been really interesting insights in, on the one side, the journey of a startup founder, but also the daily life. As said at the beginning, we'll have a Q&A session at the end. I've seen there have been a few questions already, so I'll noted them down and we'll discuss it at the end of the webinar. Now I'm very happy to welcome Jan Küster. As I said, a very experienced startup consultant, advisor, who will talk about how to prepare your startup for pitches, but also to find the right product market fit. So Jan, happy to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here. I truly enjoy working with Team ISPO on a range of subjects. When I'm not doing that, I'm actually working a lot with Plug and Play, which is the world's most active pre-seed venture capitalist. And there I coach startups in getting traction. So this may be either via pitching or via building a sales playbook or via contacting them to the VCs in our network. So at heart, I'm an ecosystem provider, and that is something we do with the Founders Fight Club. You can find us on all things LinkedIn or Instagram if you want to connect. Always happy to get to meet new people. Maybe you can do me a quick favor just so that I know who am I speaking with. Are you already running a startup? Are you planning to run a startup? And also, are you rather looking for venture capitalists or are you looking for closing customers? So if you can just put that into the chat, that actually would really be helpful to me. I've got a ton of content in only 10 minutes, so I run through this and obviously will be happy to answer any questions here. or later on social media if you want to reach out. So let's have a quick look at how a VC looks at your business model. And since Ophir is currently fundraising, let me maybe show you the other side of the table here. If you're a startup and you're pitching to a venture capitalist, you have to understand how a fund is typically structured. A fund, let's say a VC gets 10 million to invest from his limited partners or her limited partners. And they want to, I really actually like that, Ilya. If you want to, all the others, if you want to post your startups here, that'd be super nice so we can actually see who's here. So back on that. So typically, you've seen Christoph saying that 9 of 10 startups failed. So it doesn't make sense for a VC to invest into something that maybe gives you a 20 to 30% return, because one startup pretty much needs to expect needs to save the entire fund. So you got to be in the market of securing a much higher multiple than that. So imagine you have 10 million, you invest $1 million into different ideas, and then you have 9 of them failing, so that 1 million that actually makes it to a success should at least become worth 20 million in the running time of your fund to make any sense to invest at all. And so if you can't provide that kind of growth metric, you are not really relevant to a venture capitalist. You may be relevant to a private equity investor, you may be relevant to an angel investor, but VC is not for you. Sorry about that. So what is a VC typically looking at? We do want to have that unicorn vibe. So that means a potential revenue of 100 million per annum, because that gives you that unicorn evaluation. To get there, you pretty much want to look at a market size of 500 million. And that needs to be truly serviceable. So that means needs to be in your geographic scope. Even on digital products, you likely can't, post any. You can't really post digital content to China or to Russia. So that needs to go out of your geoscope. And obviously, if you have a hardware product, you need to think in terms of distribution and then fragmentation of value chain. So where is your value creation? Where's your value capture? Who do you need to pay along the way? All these things is what is being looked at the due diligence. And to be honest, always in the first meeting. And your pitch should actually allude to you being able to do that. AVC watches your pitch completely from a completely different perspective than a potential customer does. So depending on where you are, you shouldn't have the same slide deck. The business model, I guess, is maybe a lot more into the product is interesting to both VC and customer. But one is actually looking at your business model and your multiples, and the other is looking at implementation. What does your product do for me? What value is being created here? So, and then, to be honest, everybody is looking at a team. So, even if Movementa's first product doesn't take off, we can still trust Ophir that he has built an awesome team so that their next idea may be awesome and may be making it to market, achieving those multiples. So you typically want to have a mix of a head of product, a techie, then a visionary, somebody that can especially do sales, and one structure and process person. All of this is really switched up by usage of AI. For instance, no-code platforms, especially in MVP designs, make the requirements for the tech person a lot less tech skills savvy than was necessary maybe 5 years ago. Pretty sure Marcus will allude to that in the talk that's coming up after mine. So also sales shouldn't be old-time sales where you call a lot of people. It should be new-time sales. You should be equipped to deal with growth metrics and growth experiments, etc. And the structure and process person has become so very relevant because, as you'll see, I guess, in a minute from Marcus, you have structures and processes these days that can avoid a high headcount. Why is that important? Typically, headcount has been the major KPI for VCs to invest into. So you'd be looking at an average growth of headcount. The more people, the more product sold, the more product being generated, the better it is. Now you can automate so much with AI that companies that have secured multi-billion-dollar funding have less than 100 employees because they have highly automated with AI technology. And that is actually something where there's a major opportunity for startups these days. I won't dwell into that because, as I said, I have a ton of content content for you. And I hope that actually gets you to a point where you become a better startup, because that's my purpose in life. So this is the product market fit pyramid as outlined by Daniel Olson in his fantastic book. If you Google product market fit pyramid, this is what comes up. None of this content is my own, to be honest. I'm just sharing best practice here with you and my interpretation of it. But the important set here is, if you have made a wrong judgment call on underserved needs of a target customer, you need to pivot your business model. So I don't know yet what Newsstream or Lead or Bungie Superfly does, but it is important that you have made a right guess on your market. Your market needs to validate to you that they really love your product. And if they don't, and if it doesn't achieve a size that you feel happy with, you know, I am the last person to tell you always have to go for VC. You should really look into all avenues, and you should really look at, you know, creating something that's just worthwhile your time and your customers' time. If you get there, the rest will actually be figured out by itself. And a lot more people, a lot more founders have actually lost money compared to alternatives running a startup that is VC backed than actually becoming happy and fulfilling and making a ton of money. So money shouldn't be really your goal here. Your goal should be to serve a need of a target customer you truly love. I love startups. I love founders, which is why spending time with them just fulfills me on way more bases that I could ever do in any other job, to be honest. So the other bit, value proposition, feature set, and user interface design, that just takes work and it constantly evolves, and that is actually something that you can invest your time into. So however, if you get that wrong, you need to pivot. Now, what is a VC or an investor typically looking for? It's the moat. A moat is the term that describes the bit of, let's say, river or water that actually circles around a castle. And we want you as a startup to protect your IP, to protect your market, to protect your business model. There are typically those types of moats, which is IP, anything patent related. Quick interpretation, patents are actually not so very good because they come with a huge legal burden if you're attacked on those. And to be honest, large corporates just have deeper legal funding pockets than you, likely. Then know-how, trade secrets. This is the biggie I like. And typically this arises from you loving the market more than anyone else, and therefore you possess trade secrets. Then speed of execution. That's something every startup should have ingrained in their DNA. Brand awareness is an awesome mode for startups. Cost advantages, so you doing the same thing cheaper. Government protection, forget about that. Google Gurley's talk on regulatory capture and understand why government protection is actually there for corporates, not for startups. And distribution rights. This is also awesome because distribution has changed. Distribution takes place via social media. Distribution takes place via closed ecosystems and communities, and the old school distribution channels via brick and mortar retail is something that no corporate will actually make available to their own innovation department. So you have the heads up there. However, you should really focus on one type of mode that you want to build on and that you want to protect on. And if you tell your equity story, your fundraising story, you really want to tell the VC this is the mode that your money goes into building. Yeah, you can read that and obviously you can watch the recording. And since I only have 10 minutes, I want to speed up here because I have another piece of advice on how to pitch. Typically, these are the three arguments of rhetorical skills. Already, you know, this is why we use the Greek terms here, because this goes back to Aristoteles, who has written about the three arguments of rhetorics, which are logos, pathos, and ethos. And what you want to hit on your presentation is really that green center. Now, if you think about archetypes for each of those, you can see how different those speakers are. Logos, awesome speakers in those fields have been Steve Jobs and also Barack Obama. They really can explain anything. They are just so logically driven. Best practice here is if you run through your pitch, maybe do a transcript, run that through ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to shorten every little bit of it. Typically saying if you write something or if you speak something into a microphone and you read through the recording, whenever your mind drifts off the text and you can't hold focus on what you've written, written, then your audience can't either. And this is a really good method of going down on cutting down on text. Hemingway always said, write drunk, edit sober, and this is how you get there. But just never trust your first draft. But, you know, at the same token, trust your first draft enough to just let everything out there so you have enough creative raw mass to then cut it down. Ethos, credibility, all things science related, you know, all nutrition scientists you see online, everybody with a PhD, they have kind of this instilled ethos. But to be honest, ethos in startup land is the most, well, useless skill to have in the initial pitch, to be honest. I find logos much better. Ethos is really your team slide where you say, we have, you know, a combined 500 years experience in artificial intelligence and all have worked at Google, Apple, I don't care where. It's just, you know, there is no credibility because you're inventing the future. So you just have to quote some percentages and some studies just to have that nodded off. And then there's pathos. And obviously pathos is the skill of the big demagogue. So you have a Donald Trump, you have, you know, our own history in Germany being ingrained by this idiot with a lot of pathos, Austrian former painter Adolf Hitler. Actually, his speechwriter was Goebbels. But those are the kind of people that have zero credibility and talk a lot of bullshit, but still, you know, convince mass crowds. Good tricks to add to your pathos portfolio is to always think in the power of 3 whenever you're on stage. So basically, you want to make sure that your intonation, the way that you use your rhetorics, conveys an emotion that is also being represented by your facial muscles, by your mimics, and by your gestures. Whenever you're on stage, let out your inner Italian and, you know, use your hands as much as you can because you look much better on photos as well. Again, only have 2 minutes left. This is the framework that we typically use when we go through an elevator pitch, and I really run through this just to finish off here to give you a framework that you can use because it covers all the bases. So this is not easy at all. We have an example here. My company, Socialista, is developing a social utility to help female consumers find deals online faster. And if you quickly think whether that's a really bad pitch or a really good pitch, and you land in the middle of it, you are utterly wrong because this is a terrible pitch. Yeah, because nobody understands what the fuck they are doing. So if you can't convey that, you don't help anyone. So first of all, you want to make sure what it is that you do. A social utility doesn't do that. They are talking about an e-commerce site. And when I hear e-commerce site as a customer, as a prospective customer, I can think, yeah, we actually need a better e-commerce site. Or yeah, I can understand my customers needing better online shopping. And your VC says, e-commerce site. I know the metrics. I know how that runs. I know about what needs to go in there in terms of cost of customer acquisition and what comes out there in terms of customer lifecycle value. So I can make an informed guess about the business model. So this is why it's so important. Always treat your product as the intersection of your innovation and the market. And your product is just the means to transport that. But if you convey that in terms like we have developed an artificial intelligence algorithm protected by an NLP module, and nobody understands what the fuck you're doing. So always be very concise and clear on that. Then specify a precise audience. Female consumers here would imply that the audience is my daughter, my wife, and my mother and my grandmother, and therefore the product must be chocolate. If it is chocolates, margin are going down the drain, which is why nobody would invest into that. So the more specific you can be on your target market and just make sure that you can say, look, this target market will develop to a market size of 500 million, you are sweet. So no worries about that, but tell me why that niche market is there in the first place. Here they drill it down to mothers aged 24 to 36. So I, as a customer, can say, oh, I am a mother aged 24 to 36, or I know a mother, or my customers are mothers aged 24 to 36. We have to go into that market, while the VC knows, okay, that's a market that actually is growing at a fascinating rate, disrupted by technology, so we really want to invest into that. So this has already become a lot better, but still nobody actually understands the problem that they are solving, because finding deals online faster is not a problem as long as Amazon and your internet works. So they have something here, shopping for hip baby products at wholesale prices, already much better, because that is a problem I can actually relate to. I'm a father of a daughter, and when I bought the first onesie for her, that was 80 euros. If we would have gone along those and buy onesies every other week for 80 euros, that would have been one even more expensive endeavor than a kit already is. At the same time, I don't want my princess to look like a hobo. So I need to have a compromise. Shopping for hip baby products at wholesale prices. I understand the problem. I'm part of the market. I'd like to have that problem solved. So all good. And now we get to your moat. Now we get to your secret sauce, what makes you special. And in this case, they say automated ordering for diapers, wipes, and other staples. If you are a parent who has ever run out of one of those things, you know what a drain that is to go shopping for especially diapers in the right size, at the right age, and all of that kind of stuff. While as a VC, I can look at that and I see, okay, that's a subscription-based business model. So we can afford way more money to invest into cost of customer acquisition. And therefore, that actually makes a ton of sense because customer life cycle is a lot higher. And I think we get from socialister, blah, 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 to this actually is already exactly on the right track. So next time you work on your elevator pitch, maybe rewatch that video, the recording of this webinar, and let me help you. And I think that's it. I also think I stayed within the 10 minutes, and thank you so much for spending time with me.
Thank you, Jan. I think there were a lot of advices, as well as also the interesting perspective of a VC. And I'm pretty sure that everybody could take away a few points out of your presentation, and that those points will help to accelerate their specific businesses. Questions, as said, at the end. Now we will have Markus von der Lühe, an AI expert, who will share a few tools he recommends to work more efficiently and to make more out of your business. Markus, happy to have you here. Are you online?
I am, absolutely. Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Now I'm happy. All right. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to talk about something that might not be completely on your radar right now. And that's why I call this the hidden treasure of startup growth. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I started my first business, I completely and utterly underestimated how hard this would be. And this is in terms of various things. Number one, the emotional roller coaster you run through when you're actually starting your own business is just incredible. You know, the sort of highs are really high when they are, when you've landed your first deal, but the lows, as probably a lot of you can resonate with, are also very low or can be very low. On top of this, you've got lots of stuff that you need to be doing that you didn't even think about when you started your business. That starts with, you know, bookkeeping, taxes, you know, doing social media, being really present. There's so much operational stuff, as Jan alluded to, that you really didn't think you had to do by yourself, but often we do, especially when we start early. And so what I want to do now is really talk a little bit about how you can automate the boring stuff. And of course, since ChatGPT sort of came into our lives, probably late 2022, a lot of things have changed since then. And what I would love to do is basically share with you some of the tools that I think are really relevant and can help you to automate your business, but also to make your life a lot easier than it might be currently the case. Before we do that, though, I wanted to run a quick thought experiment with you guys. If you just think about that, typically founders, they probably would work a good average 60 hours per week. I think that's a realistic figure. And if you were able to increase your productivity, say by 40%, this is an arbitrary number, but let's say it's 40%, then essentially what you're doing, you're effectively adding an extra 24 hours per week. If you stayed at your previous productivity level, you would have to work 84 hours to essentially get to the same level of output. We just ignore for a moment that your productivity levels will, of course, fall as you work more and more hours. So if you were to project that out over the year, it means that you would add an extra 110 days per employee per year if you were able to somehow magically do that. And since magic is now here through AI tools, and I'm not just talking about ChatGPT, but there's a lot of other tools almost every day that come into play and that will provide you some added benefits. So I'm going to very briefly run you through 5 tools that I think could add a lot of value to your business. I want to start with the first one, which just bear with me one second. The first one is called Perplexity, and not everybody has this tool on their radar. You may have heard of it or you haven't. But for me, this is the complete Google replacement. Of course, it's a lot better. And it's basically what I use when I do research, whether it's for a presentation, for a pitch, for whatever I'm doing, I use Perplexity. This is my go-to Google these days. So here I've put an example. Let's say I have to do a pitch to investors in the space of sports tech. And I need some key industry figures really quickly. And I also want to understand the size of the market and the challenges. And so if I run this, what it will do, in the olden days, we used Google where you had to scroll through lots of links, maybe 5, 10 links, until you finally found what you were looking for, if you were lucky. With Perplexity, this is really very well synthesized, very well structured. And you can see already that the main answers are here right there. But not only that, on top of this, you see those small numbers. These will also directly point you to the right source. So if I clicked on this, then immediately I've essentially got the source of my... Do you guys all see my screen still? You see that I'm in Perplexity right now?
Yes.
Oh, good. Just want to make sure. So basically, you get the sources. If you say, well, I'm not so much into text, I would love to get some video material because I want to watch a YouTube tutorial, whatever it is, then based on the question and the prompt that you've provided it will give you very good videos as well. So what you also can do is you can create collections in here. Basically, if you have, it's about pitching to investors, I can create a new collection and I can say, this is about pitching. I can create that. And then everything that's related to pitches will be categorized into that specific cluster. So that's my go-to, my new Google, if you like. And that's for research and anything that I need to do. Especially if I'm doing presentations. The second tool that I want to briefly show you, and I'm sure quite a few of you would already know it. This is basically for image generation. And the really cool thing about this is, sorry, it's Midjourney. I think I've already copied it here, actually. So Midjourney is an image generation tool. For those of you who haven't used it yet, it costs, I think, about $11 a month. But it really helps you to very quickly generate images for your presentation and pitches. And you don't have to buy expensive stock images, plus you can really tailor whatever you're doing. So as you can see here, I've already put a small prompt in here. Again, relevant for this industry. I want photorealistic images of a group of 3 women and 2 guys in their 30s doing sports activities and so forth. And what it's now doing in the background is essentially creating this image for me. The good thing is there's no problems with intellectual property or anything like this. You can actually use it straight as it is. And you can already see here in the background, it's generating those images. And then if I want to, we're almost finished with this one now. If I want to, I can now basically choose the one that I most prefer. So if I said I want the top left one, then all I do, I go on U1 and I select this, I copy it, put it into my presentation. So that's my go-to image generation tool. Yes, with ChatGPT, you can create images. I still think it's not quite there yet. It might be eventually, but right now I still prefer Midjourney if I do any pitches or presentations. Then let me go to my third tool, which is also very cool. That's make.com. Now, before we were talking about individual tasks, but what I find really hard is finding good tools when you want to have, yeah.
We're still on the Perplexity side.
Yes, I'm back to Perplexity now. Oh, so you didn't see the
No.
you didn't see the Midjourney. Okay. So at least you got the text. But I can how much time do we have? Actually, let me move to the next one because I'm well aware of the time and we want to answer some questions. So the third tool that I am going to show you is called make.com. And let me just hang on 1 second. And what this is really great at doing is you can simulate whole processes. The good thing about make.com is it's got API access to many different tools, whether that be Notion, LinkedIn, you name it. There's hundreds of tools that you can sort of integrate into this tool. It's a low-code / no-code environment, so it takes a little bit of time to get it set up first, but you don't necessarily have to be a programmer to do that. So that's the good news. What you can do is, this is an example of a social media campaign, if you like. What I find really annoying is that when you do social media, want to do social media every day, say on LinkedIn or on Twitter, it takes an awful lot of time. So what you can do with this tool is completely automated. The use case I've got here is basically, I'm reading a lot of articles on, say, artificial intelligence. So what I can do is basically I use Notion to create a table, and in this table I can copy the URLs from the kind of articles that I want to have summarized by ChatGPT and then automatically being posted onto either LinkedIn or Twitter. And so you can see the table here. So we've got the URL, we've got a summary, etc. And so all I need to do now with this tool is basically I go to whatever article that I want to capture. So let's take this guy. And let's say I copy this into my Notion. And then what I go back to Make. Make is now connected to Notion. Hopefully it's gonna run. Sorry, that was the wrong scenario. Let me go back. This is the right one. So do it again. I run it. And you can see in the background, it's running. It takes a moment because it's accessing my Notion table. It captures or it takes the URL. It creates a summary using ChatGPT. It then has to translate it into JSON, which is a specific format. So it's being readable, and then it puts some output back to Notion. And let's have a look what this looks like. So you can see this is my my URL. It's now automatically said I've already generated the content. This is the title. We've got the summary. We've got a ChatGPT summary as well. And all I need to do now is basically say it's ready for publishing. And once I've done this, I go to the next scenario and go here. And essentially all I do is run, and then it takes whatever is in Notion, it posts it on LinkedIn, and then tells me in Notion that it's actually posted it on LinkedIn. So you can see it's once it's set up, it's a fairly straightforward process, and it saves you an awful lot of time. And now you can extrapolate that into any area of your business. Again, there's many of APIs, many tools and software that you can integrate back into this tool. Now, because of the time, I think I'm going to skip the last one because I want to make sure that we still have enough time for questions. So, Christoph, if you want to take back over again and sort of moderate or facilitate Q&A.
Maybe you can share all the tools with the link in the chat so everybody can have a look himself. Thank you, Markus. And to make it a little more tangible, maybe the first question directly to you. If there was one tool you would recommend which immediately helps you, which one would it be?
So my intuitive answer was Perplexity, because it's just become so much part of my life. But if it's about really automating bigger processes, not just individual tasks, then I would definitely say something like Make.
Okay, perfect. So there's another, not question, but demand. Can we see the slide with all the names, links from the introduction, please? So maybe you can quickly share again your first slide where you listed all the different tools so the participants can do a screenshot, exactly this one. Thank you. In the meantime, let me see if there are more questions. There's one question to Ophir. Ophir, hope you're still there. Can you hear me, Ophir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. So it's a very interesting question on the one side and an obvious on the other side. How do you find those suitable team members everybody is looking for, and as Jan said, are the key to success? How did you find your team members?
So I found my founder, the other founder, during my studies. So I had the opportunity to be with the same guy after a couple of years in my group of studies. So I've seen the guy under a very heavy pressure and how he reacted during the studies. And it gave me the sense that the guy is okay, that he is smart, that he is reliable, etc. I think just finding somebody that seems to be okay is not enough. Whenever you're going to be married to somebody through a venture like that, you need to make sure that you're doing all the needed preparation and checks and due diligence about this guy in a soft way, but to get the sense in your stomach that this guy is the right guy for you, or of course lady, or for whatever. I mean, partner is something crucial, and there is no doubt, and it can be in a various way of how you can find it, but it's something that you should focus and make sure that you're doing the right steps.
Okay, thank you. If there are no more questions immediately, and also considering the time, of course.
Christoph, here's a question that was directed to Ophir, but maybe I can quickly give a comment on this. In the Q&A, somebody asked, how do you deal with loneliness as a founder? And one thing, since we run a community, I can just want to share two things on that. And Ophir, maybe you want to jump in then as well, because the question was actually directed to you. But mental health as a founder is at the core of what you do. You know, winning, when you want to win, the most important muscle is between your ears, and getting your brain ready, getting your emotions ready to succeed every day and to work against, you know, a trend that is there. Because if you'd be part of the trend, you wouldn't do a startup. You would do something that is in the general audience. So it is really difficult. So use Perplexity and ask Perplexity how to deal with and train your resilience. Building resilience is the #1 characteristic that separates an unsuccessful founder from a successful founder. And I know that this is really difficult. This is like telling a depressive person to laugh, but here are maybe two things that I do myself and that I see other founders do as well. Start journaling. Do a happiness journal, a gratitude journal, something at the very beginning of the day, and take it as seriously as anything else you do in your business. It needs to be up on your priority because, again, it will make the call on you succeeding or not. Then try out a meditation app such as Calm or Headspace. There's a reason why all hedge fund managers do meditate. Yeah, it just gives you an up there. I mean, if you're in the fitness market, I really don't have to tell you much, I guess, about positive performance, positive psychology performance. There's a lot of things to do. Then, if you are in a capital city, make sure you connect with the startup ecosystem. There are events, you can find them on Meetup, and there are events really everywhere. And we at one stage had a really broad network from a ton of VCs, angels, startup founders, and we asked them, what is the #1 resource you would recommend to somebody who's starting a business? And they all said at a rate of 95%, not that book or that tool, they all said other founders. So somebody who's just one step ahead of you. And if you connect with them, they are your actually best thing. One fascinating thing, maybe as a last word, that happened at ISPO was that we tried to do a networking event that was geared towards networking with the VCs. And a speed dating event that actually turned out to be a speed dating event with other founders. And we heard so much positive feedback on that they connecting amongst themselves was so very helpful. This is how you manage your emotional states.
Yeah, I'm 100% with what just you said, and I will add to that: eat well, sleep well, live well. I mean, it sounds that you are in a crazy race, but still, because it's a long race, it's not a sprint. You need to make sure that your body, your mind is treated in the best way that you can be able to last this a long period. And I think mentors, it's a very important thing. Whatever you need in any subject that you need, if it's a VCs, if it's founders, if it's technology, found the people that you trust and you're willing to listen to them. It can give you a lot of information and to what just been said. And last point from my side, Monday.com, it's a great tool to manage whatever you're doing regarding your business. If you're talking about CRM, if you're talking about initiatives, if you're talking about managing people, it's a very good tool. I think it's covering everything that is needed on the management side.
Okay, thank you, Jan. Thank you, Ofir. So as time is up, on the one side, I would like to thank you for participating. Thanks a lot to all the speakers. This has been just a little glimpse into the ISPO brand new ecosystem. And now my colleague Juicy will quickly explain you how you can become part of ISPO Brandnew as well and benefit from our network of experts and connections. So Markus, if you could stop sharing, then Juicy can quickly run you through the process.
Sorry, I was on mute. I said, Juicy, you can just take over.
Doesn't let her, Markus. So
Really?
You're this way.
But maybe you just go ahead, Juicy, already, because I think we don't need necessarily. Now we have the screen share. Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yes.
All right.
So how can we join ISPO Brandnew, Juicy?
So you just need to go on ISPO.com and book your ISPO Brandnew booth. And upon receiving your application, guys, we will get in touch with you and we will explain you about the ISPO Brandnew Award, which is what Christoph was earlier mentioning about GoPro, about Maloya, about the shoe brand On, who all went through ISPO Brandnew, won, and then they became the brand that everybody know and probably use every day. If upon joining ISPO Brandnew, you will be providing us a few videos. It's everything digital. You don't need to provide us any physical products, a few descriptions, and upon collecting all of your materials, an international jury, among which Misha, among others, will be happy to know about your innovations and decide who will be pre-selected to live pitch during ISPO Munich with 60,000 visitors joining. And if selected, then you will be probably among the ISPO Brandnew winners category. We have a general overall winner, and we also have the category winners for sustainability, outdoor, snow sports. But for all the details, please reach out to us anytime. We are happy to help on LinkedIn, per email, and take a look at ispo.com, brand new. If you need any more information, just drop us an email, and we will be glad to provide you with help.
Thanks a lot. And any questions, remarks, please use either our contacts or LinkedIn page, and we are happy to answer. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.